Good afternoon. This is Scott Shine with GENEDGE. I'm the program director for the Mobile Technology Insertion program. This is our second request for information session to talk about the program, give you a little bit more detail and an opportunity to ask some questions about the program as you consider responding to our request for information. We're going to have you muted here for the first 10 to 15 minutes or so I can power through this information. There'll be a lot in the next 10, 15 minutes. And then we'll open up the floor to questions. You can submit questions through chat, or Jeanette can help me with unmuting your mic. So with that, we'll get started with a quick overview on the program. And as you've seen, if you've read the RFI, there's really three objectives in the program. The first objective is I'll call it 1A and 1B are workforce related as it pertains to upskilling the current manufacturing workforce, but also retaining and attracting talent within the high school systems, also vocational systems, into the manufacturing related disciplines. And then the third part of this, which I think is critical and often not incorporated into educational related initiatives like this, using a mobile facility, is the building the resources to provide the owner operator, the executive teams, some consultation, some resources to evaluate the business case, the impact on their individual operations, and really evaluate how advanced manufacturing technologies can help them. I think the stereotype, and for full disclosure, I'm a former owner operator of an aerospace manufacturing company here in Richmond until a couple of years ago. I was one of these people who really viewed advanced manufacturing technology was for somebody else, really didn't apply to us. And one of the points of this program is to bring this technology to the doorstep of these owner operators like I used to be, to begin the conversation around how these advanced technologies can be used in their operations effectively, to get more out of their current workforce, attract talent to their companies, and also increase the throughput and general bottom line for their operations. So that's the first bullet there on what is this. So while the focus initially here is putting together these three mobile facilities that'll be outfitted with advanced manufacturing technologies, I think another thing that differentiates this program, and this is why a lot of you are on this call today, is we cannot execute and deliver the value of this program without an extensive group of partners that can provide the expertise, the training, the testing, supporting the decision makers and their teams. Initially, we'll be focused on the defense industrial base, but as everyone knows on this call, that's a fairly broad definition. And so we anticipate serving as many manufacturers as we can here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The initial round was approved in the recently passed federal budget in March. This will be treated as somewhat of an R&D process versus an acquisition. So we are currently working on a white paper, and then that will then move into a proposal on how the program will proceed. We're not competing on this. The line item is there for us to secure the funds, but we have to put a program plan together here in a proposal to tell the government how we're going to deliver the value for that $10 million worth of funding. So we launched this RFI to learn the potential partner and service capabilities. We didn't want to put together a white paper and eventually a proposal in isolation. We wanted to see who out there not just has the capabilities, but also the enthusiasm and interest in partnering on a program like this. It's very unique. It's exciting. It has significant impacts to the owner operator, the small and mid-sized manufacturer, and the workforce, but it may or may not be for everyone, may or may not fit your business. And so the RFI, for me, is a two-way street. It helps you evaluate how this program might fit your goals and your mission as a business, as well as how it fits what we're trying to accomplish. So as part of this, we're looking obviously getting more details on service provider capabilities, case studies. Very few of you will have worked on exactly the same types of programs as a service provider. Some of the vehicle manufacturers have done something similar before, but in general, most of you will not have done something exactly like this, which is okay. We're just looking for case studies to understand similar business model, operational model. Is there something that you could support? And then obviously, random order of magnitude, rough order of magnitude rather, cost profiles will help us really scope out, where's the flow of funds on this, and how are we going to execute. So I'd already talked about the process. We have a white paper submission coming up, and then we're going to move fairly quickly into a proposal and program plan. I like showing this video because it gives a little bit of a visual on what we're targeting here in the way of a mobile technology facility. So let me take a minute here and play it for you. So that's the LEIDOS Live Innovation on Wheels. I thought they did an excellent job of, and this is obviously a defense focused platform, and I thought did a pretty good job of visualizing, at least in concept, what we're shooting for here. So this isn't a completely new concept. This has been done in various ways by trade associations in different companies, but the American Welding Society, I thought, was another great case study. They partnered with industry, they partnered with NSF to put together a Explore Career Opportunities in Welding trailer exhibit, which has been around for 10 years. They've had a lot of success with it. The purpose of it is really focused on attracting talent to the welding trade, and they've done a great job of that in the last decade, and they'll go around the country and exhibit at different trade shows and different universities and vocational programs. So another case study there. As far as what we're trying to do on MTIP, now I kind of like this visual because it shows the modularity of our version, our concept here. And the modularity is key because whether we're just talking within the state or the region, whether you're talking geography or the sector or industry clusters, they're all going to have different needs as it relates to advanced manufacturing technology. So the modularity allows us to cater the facility to the needs of the individual sectors, the clusters, the regions, the geographies, and really target the advanced manufacturing technology profile to that audience. So I like showing this. So you look at it and say, it's a little boxy, and that's intentional. So we can drop technologies in there to really align with the needs of our audience. So we really put together, this is not a comprehensive list of technologies we included in this simulation, but we included a virtual welding station, AGV, autonomous ground vehicle. This is probably my personal favorite because in my previous life, material management was labor intensive. a lot of time devoted to it, and I think we could have benefited from some sort of autonomous ground vehicle capability, and that could come in various forms and come in pick and place. It could come in material management, come in shipping and receiving, and so I really like the versatility of this technology. Virtual reality. So this could be for work instructions. It could be in training. Using it to conduct overlays for complex tasks. The different applications of VR, I think, will be very interesting to this audience. Because again, I think some of the stereotype out there is that doesn't really apply to us. 3D printing and additive manufacturing. Again, I think some of the stereotypes out there is this is doesn't really apply to us. Whereas I think the applications in regards to maintenance and repair, new product concepts, prototyping, the flexibility around carbon materials, metals, and poly will be an eye-opener to this audience and enable some of this technology in their operation. Cobot welding, again, getting more out of your current workforce. We think this will be one of the more popular technologies that we exhibit. So we included that in our simulation, and I'll go through this very quickly. We just wanted to give a visual on how this might look. And there's your welding station. There's your AGV. There's your VR. 3D printing. And cobot welding. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the concept. So as I mentioned earlier, I think what differentiates this program is the resources we're building around this mobile facility. So by itself, I simplistically look at the mobile facility as the gateway, the bait on the hook to start engaging small and mid-sized manufacturers on implementing advanced manufacturing technologies in their operation. And so that's really the first two pieces of this flow here around assessing and informing, demonstrating, giving owner-operators a chance to touch and feel the technology, allowing their folks at the same time to do that, giving us a chance to learn their operation a little bit on the ground. We're not selling equipment. That's the difference here. And those of you who have worked in the manufacturing sector will know that there's a constant inundated flow of equipment sales. And so this is not that. And so I think owner operators will be excited to engage in a way that isn't, there's no agenda to sell a piece of equipment. It truly is, we're trying to figure out how to leverage this technology to improve their operation. And so that's the first couple of stages here. So once they see the value, then we need to get into the analytical phase. So it's, how do we go about inserting the technology into their operation, understanding their operation, developing technology roadmaps, validating the business case. And honestly, that should probably be in parallel to the technology insertion roadmaps. Because it's kind of a feedback loop. They're going to need information from the roadmaps in order to develop the business cases. And then there's once we've identified a business case, the owner operators see the value, then we get into piloting and testing, training, and then implementation. And so we want to have resources that are in position to support all these pieces. GENEDGE is small. We're an enthusiastic army, but we're a small organization. So we need partners and an ecosystem, as they say, to make this work. So a a partial list of need here, as reflected in the request for information: advanced manufacturing technologies, engineering, prototyping, simulations, training, process improvement consulting, marketing, OD, business case development. So a lot of need here for a wide range of services to deliver the value on this program and the way that we're framing it. So that's it. I think I almost hit my 15-minute target mark. So I'll stop sharing here. Well, I'll leave this page up so you have my information, and we'll open the floor to questions. So again, you can throw it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you.
I have allowed the mics, Scott, so it looks like we have a couple of hands raised.
Okay. Fire away.
Hey, Scott, this is Carl Hance with the Keyence Corporation based in the United States. We appreciate the opportunity to be included in this RFI. First and foremost, thanks for going through that information. First question that my team has is, I know you mentioned that this isn't centered on selling the equipment. Once you guys identify a potential application in one of these mid to small or small to mid-size manufacturing facilities, what will the process be from there to get these solutions inside the facilities?
Well, that's a good question. We haven't fully fleshed that out yet, but I imagine a process where, all right, we see the value of, I'll give you an example, a cobot welder, right? So cobot welding, there's a wide range of manufacturers, a wide range of options, and you know, we can provide that information to the owner operator, and allow them to make the decision on what brand or what manufacturer they want to go with. We want to stay away from the you know, proposing one manufacturer over another. With that said, we will partner with, you know, industry leaders, I believe, in these different technologies to display them. However, we would tell the owner operator that, you know, there are other options out there, because you know how it's going to go, right, Carl? Is that all right? Well, we think a cobot welder could fit what we're doing. We think it would add XYZ of throughput to our operation. Okay, well, how much does that cost? Then once you get into those discussions, it's really up to the owner operator to pick the flavor that fits in that way. And everyone has different models. Some offer training at certain price points. Some offer maintenance at certain price points. So we don't want to get into that game, because as I mentioned from the outset, we're not in the equipment sales game. We're in the you know, the support and implementation game. So yeah, I think that hopefully that answers your question. I don't think we have it fully fleshed out, but we're very sensitive to being perceived as selling any specific brand of equipment over another.
That does answer my question. Thank you, Scott.
Hi, Scott. This is Philip with Spark Product Development here in Richmond.
Hey, Phil.
I was curious, are any part of the funds that are for the MTIP available to some of the folks that will actually be invited to have a space inside of the trucks to help put together marketing and branding materials that would be specific to this opportunity? Or is that something that we would just need to develop on our own, or use what we currently have?
I'm not sure about your question, Phil. When you say marketing materials, you're talking about related to your own services?
To being inside of the truck, like is part of the opportunity that you would have specific third-party vendors in some of these modular spaces?
Yeah, we're not demonstrating vendors. Let me be very, very clear on that. So, you know, when GenEdge is engaging these clients, right? So if they have, I know you all are heavy into prototyping and product development, right? And we we notice a need in that area, then we have our collective of service providers who are part of the program that we are going to work with in order to execute on the needs of that particular client. We're not, this isn't meant to be a marketing vehicle for any service provider, just to be very clear on that.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Hey, Scott, this is Kelvin Harry-Lal with the Keynes Corporation. You may have mentioned this in the earlier slides, but what is the initial geographic region that you'll be covering initially, and are you planning on expanding to the entire United States?
That's a good question. Initially, we're focused on Virginia. We want to prove the concept here in Virginia. With that said, we're already getting inquiry, even though we're really early on. I mean, in the fact-finding phase of this, we are already getting inquiries from neighboring states. I don't know if you know, I didn't go into what an MEP is per se. I'm kind of assuming all of you have maybe done some web research on that. But our sister centers in neighboring states, and we're all public resources, are inquiring about how do they leverage what we're doing here. So I think, assuming that the concept is proven out here within Virginia, and I'm optimistic it would spread like wildfire, probably initially up and down the East Coast. Our neighboring states are already looking into it.
Great, thank you.
Scott, this is Greg Redick. Hey, you've got a long list in the RFI of technologies, and you only touched on a few in your simulation. Yep. My experience tells me that having seen it with another trade association in the corrosion world, that this could be very successful. You anticipate with your modular design how readily you can swap out a technology demonstration for needs that a particular business might need. Some of that, moving a cobalt machine in and out, or some of those things might not be all that easy, or having a second trailer at some point in the future.
No, good questions, Greg. Well, a couple of things. The initial target with the funding is actually 3 mobile facilities. So okay. I'm not sure I was totally clear on that. But to your question around the modularity and how to manage it, that's part of the discovery and fact finding that we're doing right now. The timing of the turnaround to do that, how to manage these technologies, maintain them, and take a trailer with one suite and turn it over into another. We have not. It on the surface conceptually that sounds wonderful, but as many on this call can appreciate from an engineering standpoint, that's quite a challenge. So you have electrical issues, you have spacing issues, you have even weight distribution, structural, all in on, and you all know, some of you know this. So that we certainly haven't fleshed out yet. I think the answer will be as quick as we can, so we can be responsive. But I think with having 3 vehicles, we'll be able to manage that pretty well.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, it's Mark. Oh, sorry, someone else start. Scott, this is Mark from Ease Learning. Can you just explain what you mean by owner-operator in this particular context?
Oh, sure. Broadly, we're talking about decision makers within the small and mid-sized manufacturers. Some of them are owner-operators. Some of them are CEOs. Some of them make these decisions by committee, as a management team. So management teams, owner-operators who, they're the sole owner or partners in a company. So the reason I'm focused on them and this is not a revelation. They're the ones with the purse strings, right? And so ultimately, they're the ones who have to evaluate the investment. So we're really focused on them in developing the business case. And again, with that said, a lot of these folks are not making decisions in isolation. Even if the business case is wonderful, they want feedback from their operations leads, their quality folks, their even, their operators on the floor. They want to know, okay, we're going to go do this. It's going to create some disruption and change to our business. What do you think? And so this is meant to provide a catalyst for that. Whereas today, in a lot of instances, and again, speaking from experience, we're sending our folks to an industry day. We're sending them to a trade show. We send them off. They have great dinner. Go see. Meet with a couple of vendors. But ultimately, it never went anywhere for us. And I don't think that's a unique story when I talk to my peers. And so the investment, the urgency to invest isn't there as much because other operational priorities take precedence, and it's complicated. It's not easy to evaluate this business case. There are a lot of moving parts, and so this is meant to really facilitate that.
Great, thank you for that. And my follow-up to that then is, when you refer to competency training and training in general, then who is the training for? Who is this aimed at, and what type of competency are you trying to develop or track?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you have several different competencies. You have the operator competency, just on the floor. How do I work this machine? I have maintenance competencies that I'm going to need that are going to be different than what I have today. You're going to have supervisory competency. They're going to have to know how this machine operates, how it fits into their process, into their system. They'll need some training on that. We're going to need training beyond just the technical parts. We're going to need organizational training all the way up to the top of these organizations. Because for me, when you implement an advanced manufacturing technology, yes, you're changing the operation. You're also changing the organization in a different way. And so managing that disruption and that uncertainty and that risk, I think, will be important. So there are many different training aspects to this program that we want to make sure that those resources, and I'm sure I didn't list them all, that need to be available. Some will be virtual, some could be classroom, hands-on, virtual. Some of the folks, like I see Jeff's on the line, have educated me on virtual options as far as training. So we're really open to ideas on this to get creative and efficient.
Great. Thank you very much, Scott.
Hey, Scott, this is Greg Reedick. I've got one other question. As a retired Air Force acquisition guy, with your proposal going to the DoD, I didn't see anywhere in the RFI what the period of performance is for this project. What's that?
Yeah, this isn't. Yeah, sorry, Greg. Yeah, this isn't your typical acquisition. So if you're on the acquisition side, that is a different process than this is kind of following more of an R&D process. But with that said, the period of performance is 3 years.
So you've got 3 years to spend that 10 million.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And I should add that we're already in discussions on follow-on years. There's a lot of enthusiasm. So we're just starting to work on the first round and getting all that planning together. And there's already discussion on inclusion in the next budget.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. All right, we hit 1 o'clock. Anybody else?
Yes, Scott, this is Carl Hans with Keyence again. One last question on our end. This is kind of going back to my previous question about the next steps in the process once you guys generate interest or solve an application. Will you be publishing to the vendors any contact information or locations where the trailers are going to be, with schedules or anything of that nature?
I envision that will be part of the RFP process. The RFI will, my goal is that will inform heavily on our on these types of details for the RFP process. So that will be where you will see that level of detail for sure.
Okay. So I guess post, I guess trade show, if you will, once you guys leave a facility, would we be contacted to understand what potential applications might be at those facilities so that our teams can follow up with them in person?
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're managing the program, right? So we're not handing the program off to anybody. So it's going to be, okay, we see a need, let's partner on, addressing that need. And so how we do that could vary, but yes, so it will be, we need these resources. How the structured from a commercial standpoint, we don't have that dialed in yet, whether it's a contractor agreement or some other flavor. We don't know yet, but in theory, that's what we're looking for, Carl, is that, we have a need with this timing, with this company, and your firm will be able to support that.
Okay, very good. That answers my question, Scott. Thank you.
Anybody else? We can take one more. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. I hope it helped kind of, for those of you who are heavily considering responding to the RFI, which I hope all of you are. Hopefully this was helpful in doing that. Again, you have my email. Please reach out if you have any additional questions between now and June 10th, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Scott.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Scott.